A couple of times now we've had the opportunity to chat with James Wesley Rawles. Right? James is the he's the I don't know. I've come to call him like the godfather of anything having to do with prepping, survival preparation, emergency preparation, all the rest of that. He used to hang out in Army intelligence. He's had survivalblog.com, which is he's forever. And if you ever have any questions whatsoever about anything having to do with preparing for blizzards or power outages, and some are preparing for a lot worse than that, that's the place you have to go. Survivalblog.com. There's a link to it at our website, but I mean that's the place. I mean there is more information in one place up there on everything from raising chickens to producing electricity to staying in shape to digging. I mean, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. You can get lost up there. It's terrific. Anyway, he also writes books, and he's got a couple, three of them out on the theme: Survivors, a novel of the coming collapse; Patriots, a novel of survival in the coming collapse; and Founders, which is the latest, and I think it's the last in the series. I don't know. We'll find out in a minute as soon as we get him up here on the. He's on the phone. Let's hop to it. James, welcome back. How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing great, Brian.
Pleasure is mine. Family is okay? Everything all right there in that undisclosed location?
You know, it's fall, so the firewood is all stacked. The hay and alfalfa are all stacked in the barn. We're ready for winter.
That is great. That is great. Was I right that this is the end of the rainbow for the series, or do you got another one?
No, I'm writing two more novels, actually for a different publisher, for E.P. Dutton.
Okay.
The next one is going to be set primarily in Australia and in the Philippines and in Florida, but it's set in the same time period as my other novels. With my novels, instead of looking farther out into the future with each sequel, I actually do them parallel, contemporaneously, so they all cover the same exciting time period of the economic collapse, but just as seen through different eyes. And that gives me a chance to write about a lot of different approaches to preparedness. Not everybody is, a totally squared away, camo-clad, buff, special forces veteran. There's a lot of soccer moms out there who need to know how to survive too.
Okay, well that's good. Are you writing those other two? You're not writing them concurrently, I'm assuming.
No, I'm going to be writing those in sequence, but I'm about halfway through writing the next one. It'll be titled Expatriates.
Great.
And it focuses on an American missionary in the Philippines who has to flee to Australia because the Philippines are invaded by Indonesia in the midst of this collapse. And then an American oil man who lives in Australia. And the stories kind of collide in the course of that novel.
Gotcha. Well, this Founders, I got my copy a couple of weeks ago and read it through, and it's so it's available pretty much anywhere. It's Simon & Schuster. You can go to Amazon or you go to survivalblog.com, probably better, and get yourself a couple of hundred copies. It'll make a great stocking stuffer just for.
Yeah, and it's available in Costco stores now, of all places.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I guess
you get an awful lot accomplished.
Has gone mainstream.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I want to ask you about that. As I say, you get an awful lot accomplished out there in the hinterlands, in the redoubt. I was having a conversation online with a couple of three individuals who are think very highly of you and have been doing some writing and so on of their own right. One of the questions, of course, is when you get into the conversations about this whole business, the coming collapse, survival, prepping, and all the rest. One of the first times we were on. In fact, it was the first time we were on with us. I asked you about this doomsday prepper thing that National Geographic has on, and you said you hadn't had a TV in quite a few years. You'd never seen it. Don't expect to see it. We're going to be doing an interview with them in a week or so, and I'm not terribly fond of it, but I just trying to pursue the subject. My question to you is because this business of prepping and survival and so on tends to be not everyday conversation with most people. In fact, the vast majority of people, I think I read on your blog a couple of weeks ago, the vast majority of people really haven't given this a whole lot of thought, if any thought at all, much less serious consideration and preparation. My question is, do you get would you agree with the fact that, or the idea that, that people who come into the prepping movement, for want of a better term, come to it in stages? Are there like multiple epiphanies that come along before you realize just how progressively serious the situation is?
Well, typically, yes. I think people tend to ease their way into preparedness. First, with the recognition that we have a fragile society and that the government can't do everything to provide for us if there is a disaster. But then as people get into it, they come to realize just how much is involved in getting prepared, how many different aspects you need to cover if you're on your own. Not just water filtration and food storage, but things like communications equipment and first aid equipment all the way up to minor surgery, and being well prepared for retreat security and coordinating with your neighbors to form a neighborhood watch on steroids. Because it may come down to that if we have a grid down collapse or any major disaster.
Well, on that note, there also seems to be some resistance as more and more people seem to be becoming aware, especially of the financial aspect of this, and we talk about that quite a bit here in different contexts. The presupposition as to what the end result will be and how long it will last also tends to take on different depths and lengths and breadths as to its seriousness. I mean, well, as long as I got a couple of dozen MREs and Dad's 22 in the closet, I'll be fine. Other people are much further down the road than that. Is there any way to get a better take on that question, the length, depth, breadth, and the seriousness of what this collapse will ultimately bring us?
Well, Brian, I think the key thing is to recognize that the linchpin of modern society is our power grids. If the grids go down, all bets are off. But if the grids stay up, if we see a continuation of the current economic crisis, we may just have a depression on the scale of the 1930s. And there will still be relative law and order. But again, if the grid goes down, who knows what might happen? And that's why I recommend people prepare for the worst case, and then they can take anything lesser in stride.
Okay. So as long as you're prepared for the long haul, if it doesn't turn out that way, you can just have a yard sale when it's over and be okay.
Right. Well, it gives you lots of extra on hand for charity, for example. I think charity is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to stock up, and if you look at what's going on with all the major currencies right now, there's monetization going on right now on both sides of the Atlantic, and that's going to be wildly inflationary in the long run. So it's in everyone's best interest to diversify into tangibles, and the tangibles I like are not so much gold and silver as productive farmland and common caliber ammunition. They're not going to lose their value.